It was long overdue, but the Pelicans finally canned Willie Green, and I wish I could say that was reason to celebrate, except for the fact that there's no basketball team I'd rather be a fan of less still than the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm not joking at all in the slightest when I say that, and that's really saying something considering we have a team also out in the Western Conference. They also kind of just fired their GM. They happened to trade their franchise superstar, 25-year-old franchise cornerstone player after, a year removed from an NBA Finals appearance, not even a full year removed. And somehow there is a team right now who is worse off than that because at least the Mavericks have Cooper Flagg, whereas on the Pelican side of things, they have Jordan Poole and Zion, who has played over 30 games 2 seasons in his career. They have 2 playoff wins since Zion was drafted to the team back in 2019. Those 2 playoff wins came in a season where he did not play a singular game. So any of their success, the very, very little bare minimum amount of success that they've had in the postseason, measly 2 wins, came without the guy who was supposed to alter the course of their franchise's history. It feels like it was just the other day where we were watching Ja Morant and Zion Williamson get drafted first and second overall in the draft, and everyone thought that this was going to be the 2 next biggest players in the league, or 2 of the biggest and brightest young stars in the league, and they were for a time, but it really has not lasted very long, and now we're already at a point where the Pelicans are going to be having to look to rebuild again soon, if not now. But they don't have their first-round pick this year, which I'm sure you've already seen. They also had a chance to have the Pacers' first-round pick. They decided to just give that back to them during the finals. So, yeah, they're pretty much screwed. Firing Willie Green is cool and all, but this is an awful basketball team. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's nothing you can do to this current group that is going to salvage the mess that they're in.
Oh, my God. What happened here?
Yeah, we're all trying to find the guy who did this and give him a spanking.
It's obviously this guy, right?
Yes.
My mom always told me growing up that if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say it. So I guess for the Pelicans, the one nice thing or positive takeaway that I have is that it was very good of them to deny James Borrego the chance to speak with the Knicks about the potential head coach opportunity in New York, because now he's going to be their interim head coach, and while he's not going to fix the problems that are inherently flawed with this roster, he is a step in the right direction, and I do like Borrego, but Mark Stein is already spoiling all of that because, according to him, Darvin Ham is one of the potential lead candidates for the job in the actual long term and after the interim position runs its course.
What?
We're flying to Philadelphia.
Oh, hell no!
That's the
hell no! Whoa!
I don't have any words left. I really don't. I genuinely find myself wondering sometimes while I'm just walking around, taking a crap, eating a sandwich, what goes on inside of Joe Dumars' head, and more importantly, why did the Pelicans hire him after such an awful track record? This is the guy who drafted Darko Milicic over Carmelo Anthony. Pause right there. He drafted him over Dwayne Wade. He drafted him over Chris Bosh. There is nothing you can do to justify that. You can have all the arguments or whatever about if they would have won a ring with Melo or whatnot because of egos and shot selection, yada, yada, yada. But the point is, that's one of the worst draft picks of all time. He also traded for 37-million-year-old washed-up Allen Iverson. The guy's just made a lot of bad moves. You can go through his whole transaction history. You're going to find a lot more bad than you're going to find good. He set the Pistons back 5 to 10 seasons, and he's about to do the same thing to the Pelicans. He already pretty much has with the trades that he made as soon as he got into that position of power. He was the vice president of basketball operations, hired back in April of 2025, literally less than a year, and just a colossal amount of damage has been done that I don't know who in the right mind is the right person to fix it. I'll tell you, it's not Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver, so it might be a long time until we start to see things trend in an upward direction for New Orleans.
Like fucking King Midas in reverse here. Everything I touch turns to shit.
I don't know what other path there is to recouping some of the assets after trading away 2 potential top 3 picks in one of the best draft classes we've ever seen. I just cannot fathom that in the first 2 to 3 months of getting this job, Joe Dumars makes 2 of the worst trades that we've seen in maybe the last 10, 15 or so years. You give up 2 of the most valuable draft picks in the Pacers pick that you gave back to them before or during the finals. Granted, you didn't know how good that pick was going to be, but giving up your own pick for Derek Queen is crazy in and of itself because I don't know how they looked at this Pelicans roster in the Western Conference on the day of the draft and said, yeah, we'll compete next year in the Western Conference. We don't need our first-round draft pick. No chance that turns in to one of the best young players in the NBA. And here we are, less than 20 games into the season, And that's exactly what it looks like. They're tied for the third worst record in all of basketball, and below them are the Indiana Pacers. It doesn't, the jokes write themselves. There is nothing you can do but sit and laugh. I feel bad for the Pelicans fans because they don't deserve this. I'd be completely apathetic at this point. I just would not care at all about this team because my front office, my team, my ownership, they're inept.
What's up, man? What's happening, big guy? What's up with the gun?
Oh, nothing. I was probably gonna use it to shoot myself or something.
Ah, you need to do that, man. Why don't you just...
The Pelicans are inept. I don't know what they're doing. And I think that's the reality of teams sometimes is you always try to figure out, why is this team doing that? Why is this team doing this? It's not working, blah, blah, blah. That's the unfortunate reality of rooting for a bad team. Bad teams make bad moves. They make bad decisions. And it's just been bad decision after bad decision for pretty much the past couple years for the Pelicans. They've seemingly taken one step forward, two steps back, time and time again. They haven't hit on many of their draft picks. Now, you're putting so much stock into Derek Queen hitting and him being a valuable player. I hate to do this to Derek Queen because I don't have anything individually against him, even though he wasn't one of my favorite prospects. But he has so much weight now on his shoulders to perform. If he's anything short of a multi-time All-Star, it's an awful trade. And that's the likely case scenario. I don't see Derek Queen ever becoming an All-Star. And as much as that sucks for him, that's the label that he's going to have on him for the rest of his career because he was traded for a potential AJ DeBonsa, Cam Boozer, or Darren Peterson. The only logical course of action I think that can be taken at this point is trying to trade Zion and maybe DeJounte Murray if he'll have any takers for whatever draft capital you can get at this point, because building a contender, at least with Zion as the centerpiece, it's a dream that died probably 3 seasons ago. He can't stay healthy. You can't rely on him to be your driving force of a potential contending team. Maybe there's another team out there who's willing to take a shot on him as a second or third option. The Clippers are a team who I thought of maybe potentially going after him with John Collins' $26 million expiring salary and Bogey Bogdanovic. But I'm just not sure where the real framework is for any Zion trade across the league. It's a big difficulty with trading stars and guys making a ton of money is that you have to match the salary. A lot of teams are in the second apron, so they can't send out multiple players. It's just really hard. It's really hard to get out of the situation that the Pelicans are in, and it's all self-inflicted is the unfortunate part. They've done this all to themselves, and it's just really stuck in the mud. They're stuck in the mud. There is no trade Zion for this or trade Zion for that and reset everything. There's no realistic trade out there where you're going to get appropriate value for Zion, but at this point, I would probably just try to get any first-round picks that I can because you don't have a foundation for this team. You just don't. They need a complete retool. And the fact that they thought they were going to be maybe a contender out west is just appalling. And I do feel so bad for all the Pelicans fans out there. Regardless of who gets traded this year or who doesn't, whether DeJounte or Zion get shipped out, they stay or whatever, you have to play Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen as much as you can for the rest of the season. Those are the 2 guys you took in the first round who you bet a lot on taking. Those are your foundational pieces now. You don't have a first-round pick in 2026, which would have been a huge year to get a piece. Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen need to go through as many ups and downs as possible in their rookie season, so they are as good as possible for season number 2, because they don't have a foundation outside of that. Yves Missi is a good player too, but when you're talking about a legitimate ceiling and people that could hopefully one day be all-stars for you, Jeremiah Fears and Queen are really all that they have. I'm pretty much out on Zion at this point. Even if they do keep him on the roster, he can't be their sole focus or the sole focus of their rebuild. They have to put more of their energy into getting Jeremiah Fears to be their franchise point guard and to have Derek Queen hopefully be their franchise power forward or center. Anyways, that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I just wanted to come and talk about this because this genuinely might be the worst situation we've seen a team in since the Brooklyn Nets traded all those first rounders for 87-year-old Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. The Pelicans have a lot of dark days ahead, and it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. Really, my prayers are with all of you New Orleans fans, and I wish you had football to root for, but unfortunately the Saints also play in your city. So anyways, have a great rest of your day.